Morning, students. Welcome to the 37th lecture of Environmental Engineering subject. So, in the last class, we have discussed about topics of the flotation, the principles of flotation, and the various types of things, right? So, and also we discussed about the municipal wastewater treatment process, right? So, the simple method, the simple stages of municipal wastewater treatment, how the water is treated in various stages and how it is discharging outside, and what is the importance of water and what are the sources of water. So in this class, we'll discuss the important thing, that is a sanitary test. How many ways we can do the sanitation test. So these things are already, you have just got an idea, brief. I have briefed these things, but you have a question in your exam that list out or briefly explain the types of tests carried out for sewage wastewater. What are the 4 types of tests? So if a question will get like that, what are the 4 types of tests? So then you will get it out. So that's why based on the question, I have prepared this PPT. So this theory, this topic will be useful for the question. Explain the various 4 types of tests. So clearly mentioned 4 types. That's why I have retrieved some information and I have giving this information to you, right? We'll start this topic in this session. The house, the wastewater management, as usual, what we are seeing since 10 or 12 classes, right? Next. So keep this process in mind. So third unit and fourth unit, fourth unit, everything should be completely seen in this figure. This is the third unit, this is the fourth unit. So don't get confused, right? So last class, in the last PPT, in the last 36th lecture, I have discussed about the wastewater treatment process in general, right? So in general, some technical words we didn't observe, communicate, clarify like that. But we have seen some other names like the 9 stages of wastewater treatment. So దీంట్లోనే you can see the 9 stages, but the namings are different, right? So, but the namings are different. That is done general purpose. So whatever the 9 stages we have discussed, that is the general stages of wastewater treatment in the municipal things. So this one is a technical thing. This one is a technical things where it has been separated. And primary treatment lo konni untundi, secondary treatment lo konni untayi, and tertiary treatment lo other things like this. It has been separated. But in the last previous class, I have summarized all together, right? Yes. Next, this one is a very important thing where you have to keep in mind, and you may get in the exam maybe. So what are the various types of sources of water? What are the various types of sources of water? So we have seen the surface water and the groundwater, right? In the surface water, we are having 5 types of surface water, and in the groundwater, we are having 5 types of groundwater, right? Okay. Now we'll start this one. So based upon all this one only, based upon these lakes. So if you see the lakes, the pH value is different. If you see in the ponds, the water quality is different. If you see in the rivers, the physical properties or chemical properties of water will be different. If you see the storage type of reservoirs, you can see other type of things. So like this, in every type of source of water, it may be the surface water or it may be the groundwater, the pH value as well as the chemical content as well as organic material will be totally different. So that's why whenever we want to test the wastewater quality before and after. Before means this one, the water, the surface water or groundwater. Water, whatever the sources of water, these waters are going into the sanitation or domestic applications or industrial applications, right? So, and these are passing into the various drains, sewers, and coming into the wastewater treatment. So, if you look, so from the domestic, from the industries. So domestic industries ki water ekkadi nunchi vastundi? So we are getting water from this sources of water. So domestic ki and industries ki we are getting from these two types of sources. So before sending this water into the domestic or industrial, we have to go for testing process. So manam lakes lo nunchi manaki domestic purpose ki water pambichina, lakes lo nunchi we are sending water to the industrial area, we have to check some basic types of testing process for the quality of water. Once it has been processed, once it has been satisfied, then we are sending those water to the domestic and industrial through sewer pipes. Once the water is sending to the municipal tank from the lakes or from the infiltration or the tube wells, in the big high altitude tanks or ground based tanks, the water is passing from the tank to the different houses or communities or apartments. There you are using the water, there you are using the municipal water, thereby the water is converted into the wastewater, that is sanitary sewage water. Then this water is coming through the pipelines and going to the wastewater treatment plant. Malli em chestam, in the wastewater treatment plant again we are going for various treatment process, that is primary, secondary and tertiary. There again you are testing the pH value of the water, physical properties, chemical properties and biological properties, and again you are retreating this water. So dani manaki use aithe we are sending to the other stages like this. See, so once the water is treated here, we are sending into the other applications, or else the balanced water is going to discharge into the ocean. Antamayindi kada? So like this, once the water is used, we are sending into this area where we are reusing this one, recycle. See here, recycled and reused products. The balanced water edaithe undo, that we are sending into the ocean. So domestic water, domestic industrial applications, see deeniki inkoka pipe connection. So where you are having a municipal tank in every town. So I think everyone have seen the municipal tank in every locality. So manaki high raised municipal tanks ఉంటుంది, లేదంటే గ్రౌండ్ లోపల సెట్ చేసిన ట్యాంక్స్ ఉంటుంది, రైట్? సో ఫ్రమ్ హియర్ ద వాటర్ ఇస్ కమింగ్ టు హియర్. సో దీనిలో పంపించే ముందు వీఆర్ టెస్టింగ్ ద వాటర్ separately. Tarvata water is coming to the houses and it is passing into the drain system, again is going to water treatment, again here testing here. So once the testing is then collected, testing and discharging, the wastewater is going here, the reused water is going for the other applications. So like this the cycling process goes on for this water. So ippudu test anedi before chestunnamo, after chestunnamo, but here we are testing the water once it is getting from the house or from the industries or from the storm water, right? Now, so the various laboratory tests carried for wastewater we'll see in this things. So whenever the population and the production process increases, automatically the population is increasing, the production processes are increasing, the consumption of food is also increasing, right? So the population and the production increases have increased the water use. So the production in the factories, so different products, multiple products, mass production, so is keep on increasing in the production. At the same time, population is also keep on increasing day by day in every locality. Thereby what happens? Water usage is also consumption is also high. Therefore creating a corresponding rise in the wastewater quantity. So water consumption ఎక్కువ అయ్యే కొద్దీ మనకి wastewater quantity కూడా పెరిగిపోతుంది, right? This increased water use and processed wastewater generation requires more efficient removal of byproducts and pollutants that allow for different effluent discharge within the environmental regulatory limits. So what is it saying here? Whenever the wastewater quantity is increasing correspondingly according to the population growth and production growth, so there are some elements, that is the byproducts, other pollutants, other wastage coming from the wastewater. So these things should be removed properly, that which allows for effluent discharge within the environmental regulatory limits. So according to the standards, according to the limits prescribed by the environmental engineering department, we have to remove all this type of things, and again we have to go for the treatment process. Once it is collected, we have to go for the treatment process. The determination of the wastewater quality in the environmental permits has been established since 1970s in a series of laboratory tests focused in the 4 major categories. So this process has been started early in the 1970s only. The wastewater quantity ni how we are going for wastewater quality. Established in the 1970s in a series of laboratory tests which are carried focused in the 4 major categories. So these wastewater are carried in the 4 major categories. Now we'll see what are the 4 main categories. First thing, if you see the organics, a determination of concentration of carbon-based material, a determination of concentration of carbon-based, that is organic compounds, aimed at establishing the relative strength of wastewater, that is BOD, biological oxygen, biochemical oxygen demand, chemical oxygen demand, total organic carbon and oil and grease. Then what are the 4 types of tests to be carried means the 4 major categories for this in the organics are BOD, COD, TOC and O and G. If you get a question in the exam, you have to write these 4 things under organics category. Okay, now next. So if you see the solids, a measurement of concentration of particulate solids that can dissolve or suspend in the wastewater. That can dissolve or suspend in the wastewater. Examples: total solids, total suspended solids, total dissolved solids, total volatile solids, and total fixed solids. So solids మనం టెస్ట్ చేస్తే ఇక్కడ మనం ఏం చేస్తున్నాం, వేస్ట్ వాటర్ని టెస్ట్ చేస్తున్నాం. ద 4 మెథడ్స్ అనేది ఇందాక మనం చెప్పుకున్నాం. If you are testing the solids which are dissolved or suspended, it has been again divided into 4 categories. One is total solids, TS, total suspended solids, TSS, total dissolved solids, TDS, total volatile solids, TVS, and total fixed solids, TFS. Right? Next, coming to the nutrients in the wastewater, a measurement of concentration of targeted nutrients, example, nitrogen and phosphorus, that can contribute to the acceleration of eutrophication, that is the natural aging of water bodies. So eutrophication means water natural ga decay avadam. Aging means water bodies natural ga age. For example, aging means, so whenever you are keeping the liquor years together in a dark place, what happens? The concentration, the quality of the liquor increases. In the same way, eutrophication means the natural aging of the water bodies under the ground. Okay, so what are the nutrients here? The nutrients are nitrogen and phosphorus. Next, 4th one is physical. So this is the 4th one. The physical properties and other impact parameters. What are the physical properties? The analytical test designed to measure the varied group of constituents directly impact the wastewater treatability, such as the temperature, the color, the pH value, the turbidity, and the odor. So దీని గురించి మనము ముందు క్లాస్లో మనము డిస్కస్ చేసాం. Temperature should be so and so, right? Generally the wastewater temperature will be normal when compared to the normal drinking water, right? The color will be, we have seen the various colors of water, right? The names కూడా చెప్పుకున్నాం. Black water, yellow water, right? pH value +7, -7 = 7, like that. Turbidity and the smell of the water. So like this we have discussed some of the topics in detail. But the major thing is to discuss is what are the 4 types of tests to be carried, means the BOD, COD, TOC and O and S. Okay na? So these are the 4 major categories. 4 major categories. Under this, these are the 4 tests we are doing, right? Although wastewater analytical tests are often separated into categories, it is important to understand that these tests are not independent of each other. So what it is saying that, so whatever the wastewater tests are carried are doing separately into the separate categories, but it is important to understand these tests are not independent of each other. So separate గా చేసినా కూడా organics అని చెప్పి solids అని చెప్పి nutrients and physical properties and these are not under separate category. So these are all together combined in a single picture. In other words, a contaminant identified by one test in one category also be identified in another test in a separate category. So what it is saying here, whatever the water is contaminated, which is identified, oka test lo whenever it is identified that is contaminated, it also be identified in other test in a separate category also. So ఏదైతే మనం ఈ టెస్ట్ లో చేస్తున్నామో పాజిటివ్ గా నెగటివ్ గా రిజల్ట్స్ వచ్చినా this should be done in other category test also in order to get for positive or negative. So see the figure here, the interaction of wastewater analytical categories in the laboratory test. So the wastewater analytical categories and laboratory test. So if you see the first one, under BOC category, the organics category, whatever you are having, the BOD test, COD test, TOC and ONG. These are the 4 tests, keep in mind. Okay. Then what is the second one? Solids. In this solids, we are having total solids, total volatile solids, total suspended solids, total diluted solids, total physical solids. So these are the under solids category, right? Next, coming to the nutrients, we are having nitrogen and phosphorus. Under the physical properties, we are having pH value, temperature, turbidity, color and odor. So these things are not independent. These things are not independent. All these 4 categories are correlated. So see here, all these 4 things are, these are independent when coming to the integrity. All these 4 are integrated, right? The organics, the solids, the nutrients and physical properties. So this figure is also very, very important in the subject point of view. So we will discuss the first things, organics, detailedly. Okay. Now, for example, the organics in the wastewater sampled represented by BOD will also be represented in the spectrum of solids either as TSS or TDS. Okay. Total dissolved solids or total suspended solids. For most people, a complete understanding of the standard methods required to accurately complete critical wastewater analytical test is not necessary. Okay. For most people, a complete understanding of the standard methods required to accurately complete critical wastewater analytical test is not necessary. However, a fundamental understanding of the theory behind the working knowledge of the basic procedure for each test and answer to commonly asked questions about each test a valuable tool for anyone involved in generating, monitoring, treating, discharging process of wastewater. So whatever the things you are going for testing of wastewater, so it should be involved in generating of it, monitoring of the water, treating of the water or discharging of the process wastewater, right? Now we'll see the 4 types of test in detail. So if you get a question in the exam, you have to write these 4 things. What are the 4 types of tests? And these 4 types of tests మీరు general ga మీరు point wise రాయాలి. Now if you see the organics analytical tests aimed at establishing the concentration means the content, typically in mg per liter or ppm of organic, that is carbon containing in the wastewater, have traditionally been used to determine the relative strength of the wastewater sample. So we are having 2 types of wastewater collection. In the first class we have discussed about the grab sampling and combined sampling. Adi only manam collection anamata. Collection is of 2 types, grab sampling and combined sampling. Tests are of 4 types, BOD, COD, TOC and OG. Today there are 4 common laboratory tests. Today there are 4 common lab tests used to determine the gross amount of organic matter. అర్థమైంది కదా? So today we are having 4 tests available to determine the gross amount of organic matter, that is the concentrations less than 1 mg per liter in wastewater. So what are the 4 types? We'll discuss in detail. So if you see the acronyms of the wastewater analytics, organic flow, BOD means biochemical oxygen demand, COD means chemical oxygen demand, TOC means total organic carbon, ONG means oil and grease. Oil and grease. So organic flow, these 4 things you have to keep in mind. BOD, biochemical oxygen demand, COD, chemical oxygen demand, TOC, total organic carbon, and O and G, oil and grease. Oil and grease. Coming to the solids category, we are having total solids, TS, total suspended solids, TSS, total dissolved solids, TDS, total volatile solids, TVS, total fixed solids, TFS. So like this, in the solids category, we are having TS, TSS, TDS, TVS, and TFS. Got it? Next, coming to the nutrients. In this nutrients, we are having 4 categories, that is NH3 ammonia, TKN total gel nitrogen, NN nitrate or nitrite, TP total phosphorus. So like this, we are having 4 categories in the nutrient section. Okay, we will discuss those things in detail now. Coming to the BOD, BOD is a traditional, most widely used test to establish concentration of organic matter in the water samples. So relative to the high strength in the wastewater name, traditionally we are using BOD method and we are going for the testing. Second one. BOD is based on the principle that if sufficient oxygen is available, aerobic biological decomposition by microorganisms will continue until all waste is consumed. So what it is saying, based upon the principle that if sufficient oxygen is available in the water, aerobic biological decomposition starts doing, right? By organism or microorganisms will continue until all the waste is consumed. So wastewater lo all waste man consume ayyenta varaku this aerobic biological decomposition happening takes place when the oxygen is available. Okay. The BOD test is also known as BOD5 since it is based on accurate measure of dissolved oxygen at the beginning and the end of the 5-day period, in which the sample is held in the dark incubated conditions. So where this test is carried out, this test is also known as BOD5, means 5 days, right? And the sample is held in the dark place and the incubated conditions, that is 20 degrees centigrade or 68 degrees Fahrenheit. So E temperatures low and the dark place low, incubated conditions low, we are doing the BOD test. So the BOD test other name is nothing but BOD5. 5 means 5-day period. Next, the change of dissolved oxygen, dissolved concentration over 5 days represents the organic demand for respiration by the aerobic biological or microorganisms in the sample. So what it is saying here? So the DO oxygen, the DO concentration represents what? How much amount of oxygen is present in the water for the respiration by aerobic biological organisms. So manaki oxygen shatam ekku undi anukondi, what happens? Whatever the microorganisms present in the water will get oxygen, thereby we can go for the test easily, right? Next, the 5-day completion window is an inherent disadvantage for the test because wastewater treatment system personnel cannot use it to make real-time operation adjustments. So what's the disadvantage here? The number of working hours is a disadvantage because the wastewater treatment personnel cannot use in a real-time operation adjustments till the reports have been disclosed. That is a disadvantage for this BOD5. Next, an extended UBOD. So BOD key extension and the UBOD, ultimate BOD test that measures oxygen consumption after 60 days or more is sometimes required in the wastewater permits. So in some cases, whenever the BOD 5 is not applicable or is impractical to use, we are using UBOD test, but that measures oxygen consumption after 60 days required in the wastewater permits. Next one is chemical oxygen demand. So what this one says, COD means chemical oxygen demand, which is most popular alternative test to BOD. So BOD వల్ల మనకి disadvantages ఉన్నాయి కాబట్టి, what is the disadvantage? The 5-day limit, okay, and also the percentage of oxygen in the wastewater. So COD is the alternate of BOD for establishing the concentration of organic matter in the wastewater sample. Okay, na? So the BOD test for establishing the concentration of organic matter in the wastewater. The CBOD test only takes a few hours to complete, giving the major advantage over 5-day BOD test. So keep this in mind. So CBOD test results అనేది you are getting very few hours when compared to the 5-day BOD test. Wastewater treatment system personnel can use CBOD as almost real-time adjustment parameter. Okay, na? So the wastewater system personnel can use the CBOD results in a real-time adjustment parameter where it is not possible in the BOD wastewater treatment personnel, because the results are coming faster when compared to the BOD. Next, the CBOD test. The CBOD can test wastewater that is too toxic for the BOD test. So BOD test lo more toxic material, if it is not highly possible to do that, here in the CBOD test it is possible to do for too toxic test for the water also. So CBOD is ready to do too toxic material. Next, the CBOD test should be considered as independent measure. So the CBOD test should be considered as independent measure of organic matter in the wastewater sample rather than substitute for the BOD test. So whatever the samples we are collecting for the test, so the CBOD test should be considered as independent measures where it is not a substitute for the BOD. So as manaki independent ga we have to take the measurings on the test rather than the substitution. So BOD ki substitute ga మనం తీసుకోకూడదు. So whatever the things you are doing under the process of CBOD, it should be done independently. That is the meaning. Next one. The CBOD test uses a chemical that oxidizes both organic and inorganic substances. So by the name, the chemical oxygen demand. So the CBOD uses some sort of chemical for the organic as well as inorganic substances in the wastewater sample. What is the chemical? That is potassium dichromate. Keep this thing in your mind. So if you get a fill up the blank, so you have to write the chemical what you are using. The keyword is CBOD is potassium dichromate in a 50% sulfuric acid solution. Sulfuric acid solutions lo potassium dichromate అనే chemical మనం యాడ్ చేస్తున్నాము, which oxidizes both organic and inorganic substances in the wastewater sample, which results in a higher CBOD concentration, than BOD concentration for the same wastewater sample, since only organic compounds are consumed during BOD test. So here what it is saying, the conclusion here, the results are higher in a CBOD concentration than BOD. Why? Because organic compounds are consumed during the BOD testing. So BOD testing చేసేటప్పుడు organic materials అనేవి consume అవుతుంది, whereas in the CBOD the organic materials will not get consumed faster than BOD. That's why the results are higher in the Cbod concentration than Bod concentration. Understood? Next. The most popular current testing method for Cbod involves using sealed and heated pre-prepared vials that change the color from orange to green based on the amount of oxidation and that are prepared using a laboratory colorimeter. So what it is saying here, the most current testing method for Cbod involves what? Sealed and heated vials that change the color of water from orange color to the green color based upon the amount of oxidation present in the laboratory colorimeter. Next, third one is, the third test is total organic carbon, TOC, total organic carbon. The TOC test is gaining popularity. The Cbod test is gaining popularity because it takes only 5 to 10 minutes to complete. So when compared to the Bod and Cbod, so the TOC is taking very less time when compared to the Cbod. So Cbod, if it takes few hours, Bod takes few days, whereas TOC is taking few minutes, that is approximately 5 to 10 minutes to complete the process. So like Cbod, the total TOC test can be used to rapidly estimate the Bod concentration once a consistent TOC to Bod ratio is established. Okay, so like Cbod, the TOC test can be used to rapidly estimate Bod concentration ratio is established on a particular wastewater stream. Right? So can I use my Cbod results to predict my Bod in the Cbod section? So whenever you are interlinking the Cbod and Bod results, so it is saying that the test gains popularity because it takes only 5 to 10 minutes to complete. Right? Next. At the heart of the TOC test, means at the main core point of the Cbod test, is a carbon analyzing. At the heart of the TOC test is a carbon analyzing instrument that measures the total organ compound in the wastewater sample. So the main heart, in the heart of the TOC test, which instrument? Carbon analyzing instrument that measures the total TOC in the wastewater sample. Next, the various heat and oxygen, comma, ultraviolet radiation, comma, chemical oxidant based methods are available to measure the TOC. So TOC measure cheyadaniki we are having ultraviolet radiation, chemical oxidant based methods, various heat and oxygen methods available to measure TOC that are specific to the carbon analyzing instrument utilized. Right? Next one. In the TOC test, organic carbon is converted to carbon dioxide. So TOC test lo em jarugutundi, whatever the organic carbon is present in the water is converting into the carbon dioxide and typically measured with the infrared analyzer. So in the TOC we are having various methods, that is infrared analyzer, carbon analyzer, ultraviolet radiation, chemical oxygen methods, heat and oxygen methods. So that's why the method is very faster, easier to complete, giving the results very easily. So in the TOC test, we are having conversion of organic carbon into the carbon dioxide and typically measured by which one? Infrared analyzer. Is measured by the infrared analyzer. Next. Then what are the testing procedures for Cbod, TOC? The TOC procedures are relatively very simple and straightforward, but are specific to the type of carbon analyzing instrument utilized in the laboratory. Thus, no typical TOC procedure exists. The instrument manufacturer procedures should be followed accurately to achieve the best results. So what are the procedure here? So whatever the manufacturer is giving in the label or in the specifications, we have to follow those procedures in order to get the accurate results. Next, the last one is oil and grease. Oil and grease. Fourth one is oil and grease. The oil and grease consists of a group of related constituents that are of special concern in the wastewater treatment due because of their unique physical properties and high concentrated energy content. So, E category low, the wastewater treatment is using unique physical properties and highly energy content where it is having the related constituents in the water. Next. The term ONG has become the popular term replacing the term FOG. So, mundu FOG అని ఉండేది ఇప్పుడు మనకి conversion into O and G. Then what is the meaning of FOG? Fat, oil and grease. Although both terms refer to the same wastewater constituents. So FOG is same to the ONG, but we are calling them as a new term, that is ONG, which are similar to the, which are same to the wastewater constituents. Third point, ONG constituents in the wastewater. ONG constituents in the wastewater can come from plants and elements. Second, just in the oil and grease in the wastewater. So generally from the plants, vegetables and the animals. That is, example, lard, butter, vegetable oils, fats, as well as petroleum resources, petroleum sources such as kerosene, lubricant oils, etc. So where it is the source? These are the source. ONG are generally hydrophobic, that is water hating. So hydrophobic means phobia. Phobia means nothing but fear. So ONG hydrophobia is generally having hydrophobia, means fear of water, and thus have low solubility in the wastewater, resulting in relatively low biodegradability by microorganisms. So manaki oil and grease water lo kalisipo kabatti it is having very low solubility, resulting in a relatively low biodegradability by the microorganisms. ONG becomes more soluble in wastewater at high temperatures and forms emulsions. So whenever the wastewater is of high temperature ga unnappudu em jarugutundi, oil and grease water lopala a heat ki karigipotundi. It forms an emulsion like oil water mixtures that will often separate back out of washed water and becomes cooler. Thus ONG are notorious for causing sewer collection system problems. So దీని వల్ల ఏం జరుగుతుంది? So whenever we are increasing the temperature of the wastewater, automatically oil and grease will get emulsified. So emulsify చేసినాక ఇది advantage? No, it is not an advantage, because these things, these notorious things will cause blocking to the sewer pipes. అంటే ఏంటి blockages అవుతుంది, pump failure జరుగుతుంది. So these are the disadvantages by using the ONG. Then what are the tests to be done? A clean flask is dried, cooled and weighed. A 1 liter wastewater sample is acidified to the pH value. The acidified wastewater sample is then transferred to 2 liter separatory funnel, and the extraction chemical are taken, added to the funnel, and the funnel is shaken rigorously for 2 minutes. So this is the procedure of doing the ONG. So I think the time is very less, so we'll discuss in the next class. So today only 4 students were present. Okay, so once this video is uploaded in the YouTube channel, I will forward this link to your WhatsApp group. Just have a look and send this link to other students, those who are not in the class. So thanks for listening the session. We'll discuss that in the next class. Okay.